Welcome everybody to the Depths of Motherhood podcast. This is a special season dedicated to the tribe of the mother, but also I know any mothers listening will find this extremely valuable. I've created each episode to offer simple, digestible, and supportive information, which I hope will educate and inspire anyone who listens. So this is by popular demand. Please help us to educate and support the tribe holding the mother. Look forward to passionate and highly knowledgeable guests dedicated to reclaiming the essence of birth and embracing conscious parenting. Throughout our time together, our guests will serve as the guiding voices, illuminating the path towards a deeper understanding of preconception, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. This is with the mother and the baby being the center of the exploration. In the show notes, you'll discover the link to Nourished Mother package, which will offer many different resources to complement each episode. This is free for all members in the Women's Circle, or £33 for everybody who just wants to purchase the package. A heartfelt thank you to our incredible guests and immense gratitude to my partner for supporting me on this creation. And finally, last but not least, special thank you to Araya, my daughter, for being the endless well of inspiration. Welcome everybody to today's episode. Today, Lauren, who is an old friend of mine, is joining us on the show. I met her early on in my army career, and this is the first time I've connected with her actually after many years, and I was so excited to hear about her journey through motherhood and what is unfolding in her life right now. Lauren is a 34-year-old mother, wife, friend and soldier, and a gym and running enthusiast. She's from the UK and lives with her husband and their 2.5-year-old daughter and their dog. Since becoming a mother, she's started to look at things very differently. She's spending energy to let go of childhood trauma. She's started reclaiming her body, and she's trying to undo years of hatred towards herself and her body. She wants to set a good example for her daughter and to women of all ages who struggle in a society that tells them they should look a certain way, act a certain way, and they shouldn't age, and are constantly given advice about what to do with their bodies instead of listening to them more intuitively. So in this conversation, we're focusing on Lauren's decision to remove her breast implants, which is also known as breast explants, and also her initial decision to get them while she was still serving in the military. This is a story that really touched me because as I'm listening to how her health rapidly declined due to her implants, I felt so deeply for her as a woman and as a mother. Yet this journey revealed so much to her so that she could meet herself more deeply and to question external influences so that she could continue that journey back to herself, to meet all the parts of her that didn't feel good enough. And as she shares her story, I can see so clearly how her daughter has supported her with this, even though she's only around Araya's age. Just by being able to witness her, she's realized this unconditional love for herself. So I came to find that breast implants was one of the most popular surgical procedures in the globe. You might hear it called breast augmentation. You might not, it's the first time I read that. But this is also known as mammoplasty and is a surgical procedure that aims to enhance the size, shape and fullness of the breast. And it typically involves the placement of implants behind the breast tissue or underneath the chest muscles. But breast explants is becoming very popular too. And there are a high number of reported cases with these symptoms coming from breast implants, which Lauren goes into more deeply, but they have a range of symptoms coming from fatigue, joint pain, mental issues, muscle aches. And although this is not formally recognized as a medical condition yet, many women who find that these symptoms improve after the removal of the implants. And then there's stories of women just not liking the look of them anymore and actually being encouraged to go larger than they originally hoped. And this is part of Lauren's story too. So to complement this conversation, I am putting the breast massage video into the Nourished Mother package. You'll find all the videos from these conversations, plus loads of extra complimentary gifts and resources. You can find this in the membership, or you can purchase Nourish Mother package as a one-off. After this episode, we are crossing over to explore pregnancy. We'll be having incredible guests on to talk about the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual aspects of pregnancy, to really be that bridge then into giving birth and postpartum. Thank you so much to Lauren for sharing her story so courageously and vulnerably. I am so proud of her. Before we get into this conversation, I just welcome you to notice your breath, to see if there's any unnecessary tension in your body right now that you can bring a little bit of softness to. Thank you for being here. Welcome home to your body. Thank you, breath. Guide it in. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's let everyone know a little bit about us, because we do know each other. And to be honest, I was sitting thinking today, like, what year we met. I couldn't work it out. Maybe you know. And when we last saw each other. Me and Lauren both
I
in
think
the army, by the way, everyone. So you probably know my story. I was in the army, and I left in 2000, and I think it was 2015, 16. I actually don't know now. A long time ago, it feels like.
I think I met you in 2009.
Right. So I'd been
That
in like
seems about
4
right.
years then.
Yeah, and I'd been in about 2. And my first unit was the same place as you. So yeah, I just remember seeing you at the gym in Tidworth quite a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we both loved, I don't know if you still love fitness, but we both loved it at the time.
Yeah.
I'm not so much of into fitness as I used to be honest with you. But I saw you jogging with your baby, so I'm wondering,
Yeah,
how's that going for you?
I still probably I do weights about 3 times a week and cardio about 3 times a week, and then try and fit in some yoga and some Pilates in between. So I'm still very
Oh
much
yes.
into it, but probably enjoying it more now actually than I ever did, which is nice.
How old were you when you joined the military, and what year was that? That was
I joined in 2007 and I was 17.
all right. So what made you join the army? This is probably questions that I've never asked you before. What
This
made you
is, I
join
mean,
the
it's quite
army?
deep though, I guess.
Super deep.
I was running away from home. I was running as far away as I possibly could. Um, my mum suffered really badly with depression, and from about age 8, I brought up my brother and sister really while she was really depressed and slept a lot. My dad is still in the Navy and always has been my whole life, and he was always away. So um I always saw my dad as someone who was, doing great things and seeing the world and everything. Now I see a man who's also running away and constantly has been. Um, but I think that was it. I got to a point where I was so done with looking after everyone else, and I just wanted to go and do something for myself. And yeah, that's it really. I mean, it's quite deep really, but I don't think many people know this about me, but when my mum and dad separated, I was 12 and we lived in like service accommodation, my like married quarter. And because my mum had never worked, we got kicked out of that house and we were homeless. And we lived in bed and breakfasts, in halfway houses, in some really awful places until we finally got our council house. And I just remember being there and thinking, I just need to get away from here. And I was about 15 by the time we finally got a house, and 17 when I joined the army. So as soon as I could, as soon as I left school, I applied and just wanted to get out of there.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. It's sad, but it's quite a common story, isn't it? This,
Mm-hmm.
especially for Especially for people joining so young as well. Like at the time, I was like 16, but I felt like I was an adult because I'd also
Yeah,
took on responsibilities at a young age. And I felt like I can do this. Like I'm an adult, but it was a running, and it's the running is something that I've noticed in myself since leaving. It's
yeah,
my go-to. But I think having a child, I can't run anymore. Like I could, like there is that possibility. I'm choosing not to
yeah,
run. Like mothers do run for sure, but it's more of now like I have to be with that feeling of staying. And it's very
yeah,
interesting to see what brought people to the military, because that reason's a very strong reason to go into a very strict regimented, literally regimented like way of living.
yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. How old is your child?
She is 2.5. Well, she'll be 3 in August, so
Oh, we were so close. I
yeah,
knew we were close, but it's so funny how time flies by. I don't actually, like looking on social media, it's really hard to tell. My
yeah,
daughter's just turned 3 now, so we're like in the similar stages of
yeah.
motherhood, actually, which is really cool. What's her name?
Beatrice.
Beatrice. Beautiful.
So we call her
Congratulations.
B, and she's wonderful, sassy,
Mm.
headstrong, uh,
Yes.
very headstrong.
Oh, beautiful. And how old were you when you decided that you were going to have implants? What's that story about?
I got implants when I was 21, and now I look back and I think, wow, that's so young. And I remember telling my dad that I was going to London and I was going to get these implants, and I remember him breaking down crying.
Hmm.
At the time, I thought, what on earth? Why are you reacting in this way? Um, and I remember him bursting out crying and saying to me, "Your mum and I, we made you perfect the way you are. Like, why are you doing this?" And now, as a mother, I absolutely get it. I absolutely get it. And it makes me feel really sad for him in that moment, because I know exactly how he would have been feeling and how they both would have been feeling. Um, and I guess that's one of the contributing factors to why I had them removed. But at the same time, I felt at the time that I needed them to be in proportion, which is just so silly. I remember um, the army can be quite a brutal place for banter, and people feeding off people's insecurities to make people laugh. And as the only woman in the class, I was at the receiving end of a lot of the jokes in the class. And I just remember always being called things like egg on legs and really awful things that I think, oh God, that all fed into this insecurity that I wasn't good enough. And I I realize now, and I didn't realize at the time, but I realize now that I've always felt like I wasn't good enough.
Hmm.
I've always felt that I couldn't do enough for my mom or my dad because my mom wasn't happy, and I know now that that's not my fault. But as a child, you think, why can't I make my mom happy? And why is she always so sad? And I tried and I tried and I tried to make her happy. And I just never felt good enough. I never felt like I was doing a good enough job. And I think that's played into this sort of thing in my head that I will never quite be good enough for anyone. And actually, becoming a mother has completely shifted my mindset around that,
Hmm.
which I didn't think it would, but it absolutely has. And for years, I just felt that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't fit enough. I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't clever enough. All of these things that
Hmm.
has taken a long time for me to realize that that's not an issue. That the issue was never what I looked like. The issue was how I'd talk to myself in my mind, or what I allowed into my mind, because for years I allowed everyone else's opinions to to get into my head and to really feel like they were my thoughts as well. And one of the best things I've done is had these implants removed, because it made me realize it was never about them in the first place.
Mm.
You know, I never needed them in the first place. And I feel like that's really powerful. And in the last few months since I've had them removed, I feel better than ever about myself, which has just been something I never thought would come of having them removed. I thought I'd be really self-conscious. I thought I'd hate what I saw in the mirror. Um, and it's actually the opposite. I've just realized who I really am again.
Wow.
It's just, and
As you're saying that, you know, like I'm thinking back to the military, how, especially in the work that we were doing, where we were usually like one of the only females there. And so fitting into this space, which is brings people together through banter, um, which if anyone doesn't know what banter is or experienced it, it's just when somebody is taking you as a human being and picking up on things that stand out or are different, or that even you believe that is like an insecurity to you, and bringing it to the surface for everyone else to laugh about as well. And we're kind of just expected to laugh with it. And it's also a way of bonding. And we were told, you know, it's banter, and it's gaslighting, because it never taught us how to actually stand up for ourselves or say if something feels uncomfortable. And if we did, we'd probably come down on us even harder. And then so I'm curious, that point when you thought to yourself, well, I'm going to do something because there's a part of my body that stands out to me, and I think if I change it in some way, I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to feel different about being in my body. What were the steps to actually go through with that?
I really thought that having the implants would change my whole world. I'd all of a sudden be this confident person who loved the way they looked and could wear anything, and
Mm.
whatever. Um, and so I did a lot of research. I really did my research, and I went to a great surgeon who had been highly recommended. I went to Harley Street in London, and I spent a lot of money, getting the implants in the first place. And, now I look back at the process and I think, oh my word, I was 21 years old, so impressionable. And when I went in, I said, I really want to look more in proportion. I want to be a B or C cup, just a full version of what I am now. And I remember the surgeon saying to me, um, people normally like what they look like when they're swollen. So we always go a few sizes bigger than you think, because when they're swollen, you'll like what they look like. And then when they go down, people are a bit disappointed. And I just thought, oh, okay, I'll take his advice and, go with the few sizes bigger. And so actually they were always bigger than I wanted them to be.
Mm.
And always felt like they were a bit of a strain, and I had a few back problems and all sorts, and now I realize why. But I really did do my research and thought that I was doing something that was completely safe, completely fine, and would make my life better.
And did they ever ask you about how you felt about yourself? Was that part of the process at all?
There is a tick box sheet of paper that says, do you like the way you look? Out of 1 to 5, tick where you think you stand on that scale. And there's a few others. It's really not that extensive. It's a one-page tick box exercise. You know, you could easily lie and just think, yeah, right, I'm absolutely fine, and send that off. And it feels more like a tick box exercise than doing the right thing by people.
Yeah. Yeah. And what did the military say about this?
I mean, they were absolutely fine. I took some leave
Really?
over the summer and came back to work as usual. So I think the rest period was a few weeks, and I was back to normal work after a few weeks. So it didn't impact on much
I thought I'd
with
heard stories once, not about you, but like of women in the army actually getting it paid for. Have you heard that? Is that
I know
true?
people. I know people, yeah.
Isn't that mental? Can you
Yeah,
imagine if a
crazy.
guy went in and said, I want a penis enlargement? I wonder if they would say yes.
I
Like,
don't know. It was like a mental health
health. Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Yeah, I do actually know a couple of people that had it done through the NHS for
And what does
free
that
through the
says to women? If you get this done, you're going to feel better about yourself. Like it's
yeah.
feeding into that idea
Yeah.
that it's nothing to do with our relationship with our inner world. If you just change your body, if you change your
Yeah.
outside, things are gonna shift. It
Yeah.
blows my mind because I heard this very early on with, I think it was a PTI that had it done, had a breast done, and I was like,
Mhm.
I didn't know if it was true or not. I just heard a rumor, but sounds like that's true, and it doesn't surprise me, honestly. Big shout out to our sponsor, Evolving Humans, who are the pioneers for energy healing. This practice that I was taught 4 years ago has been studied by researchers all around the world to provide evidence of the physiological effects of energy healing. And I'm not just saying this because it's a promotion, but I have used this practice every single day for 4 years, and personally, I've noticed the most impact in my emotional state. This energy practice taught me how to feel energy in my body and observe the sensations. The technique involves you using your hand and connecting to the energy field within your body. And with this gentle, loving awareness that you bring to the table, everything is seen and lived. The whole being comes into alignment. During the birth of my daughter, I tore, and the discomfort that I was experiencing with this tear started to ease up dramatically when I would use this technique. In the show notes, you'll find the link to Evolving Humans so that you can explore this healing technique, which is available through a course that you can join today.
The
Oh,
answer
go
to
on.
your mental health issues, let's put these devices inside your body that will make you look different, because it's not your mind. It's not, it's not help that you need. It's just we need to change what you look like, and we need to change
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
And
your issues are
what they say,
definitely down to your breasts. Like,
yeah, and what they also fail to mention is that they need to be redone every
oh,
like 10 to 12 years, 10 to 15 years.
oh wow.
So they're not going to keep paying for that. If you
Right.
can't afford it now, you probably can't afford it in 10 years' time, or you need to start thinking about it. No one tells you when you have them done in the first place, you need to start saving because you need to buy them again in 10 years' time. These aren't you get told, oh,
Wow.
they'll probably be okay for life.
So
But we recommend them.
of
Yes,
course they're going to promote it because they're going to get money. Like, of course they're not
exactly.
going to say everything.
Exactly.
And the other side of this is you're having surgery, like your body is thinking that something is happening, like there's an attack in some way. Somebody is
Yeah.
slicing you open, putting a foreign object inside, and like human hands that you're unconscious of it, but your body still remembers what is happening because something bizarre to a healthy body, there has been this surgery, there's been an injury, there's now a wound that the message isn't really relayed to the body of what is happening, because that wouldn't make sense to the body of like why that would happen. But after you had the surgery, how did your body respond?
I actually remember feeling really puffy,
Hmm.
and think my body got quite swollen, and I don't think that I ever really, when the implants were in, I don't think that that swelling ever really went, because I
Mm.
now know that now I've had the implants removed, the sort of water retention and swelling has gone down. And
Oh, wow.
so it, the body forms a capsule around the implant. So it's like a
Mm,
tissue that forms around it. And really, that tells you everything that you need to know because it's protecting itself.
yes.
It's protecting itself from the implants. It's protecting itself from the massive toxic chemicals that are in those implants. So if your body is protecting itself against something, it's not good for you and it shouldn't be there. You know, it's
That's so
there's a
true.
reason it makes that shield around it because it's trying to protect itself
Mm,
and it's trying to protect you.
mm. Wow.
And that really tells you everything you need to know about an implant, I think.
What you said that you were like experiencing this swelling. Like, was this around the breast or was it around your face
No,
or
my whole
yeah.
body.
So it was like your body was having a response to the implants the whole time
Yeah.
with this,
And
because that's
and
like a common sign of like when a woman's face, for women people, but when you see that swelling around the face, it's a really big
Mhm.
sign that there's toxins in
Yeah.
the body. And I used to have it all the way through my army career, to be honest with you, like a puffy face, even though I was
Mhm.
size nothing. Like at one point
Yeah.
I was like so tiny when I was doing boxing, but my face was puffy. And I only realized like afterwards, like now in the past like 4 years or so, like, oh, I was just really, my body was stressed. Like my nervous system was like on
Yeah.
fire and I
Yeah.
was retaining water. It wasn't fat at all. It was just water
Yeah.
retention, trying to remove toxins from my body.
Yeah. And it's exactly the same with me. I've really felt, I mean, in the last few years before I got the implants removed, the symptoms were getting quite scary actually.
Could you give us some
Um,
examples of what things you were feeling?
so first of all, I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't even pick Beatrice up, and that
Mm.
was the deciding factor for me. I was like, right, these need to be removed.
Is
I
it pain
started
in
to
your chest as well, or was it pain
up in my chest, all up through my shoulders. I have
Oof.
thought for the last 7 or 8 months before my surgery that I had a shoulder injury and I was going to see the physio and they just couldn't find anything wrong. I was like, there is something seriously wrong with my shoulder. As soon as my implants removed, the pain was gone.
Wow.
So there was obvious symptoms like the pain. Then there was a loss of vision in my left eye. So I was getting like a milky film on this left eye. And I remember saying to my husband, my eyesight has deteriorated in the last year or so, and I'm getting quite worried about it. I can't read the number plates on cars as easily as I could before. And it's like you really need to see someone about that. And my IBS, I was getting really bad IBS. The bloating was just, I looked about 8 months pregnant sometimes and it was so uncomfortable. I was getting really random allergies to foods that I had been
Mm.
absolutely fine with. um, I was getting up in the middle of the night to vomit. I was nauseous. I almost passed out a few times. I had been to the doctor so many times in the last year, getting blood tests and all sorts, trying to figure out what was wrong with me because I was getting vertigo quite a lot. And I was saying, I'm really unsteady on my feet and I'm not sure I should be driving and I'm not sure I should be picking my daughter up because I feel like I'm going to drop her. I think um, December, yeah, December, um, we went to Paris with my family, and there was a full day where the whole world felt like it was shaking around me. And my mum was like, "You're not well, Lauren." And I just thought, I need to get these implants out of my body. I just knew. And I started doing a lot of research, and there was a lot of talk online about breast implant illness.
Mm.
And eventually I went to see the doctor and said, I think, these women that I've seen online, and I know it's online, so I'm not taking it for golden, but these women are talking about a lot of symptoms that I have as well, you know, really, really fatigued as well.
Mm.
And I said, you know, these women, they're going through a lot of the same things as I am. And I remember the doctor at the time in the medical centre sent me to see a surgeon in the NHS who specialises in breast reconstruction surgery after cancer.
Mm.
And he actually said to me, "You have breast implant associated disease,
Whoa.
and we can take these out on the NHS for you because it's a medical issue."
So
And
until that point, you'd been to see the doctor, but they hadn't put two and two together.
no, my bloods were absolutely fine. They they medically they said nothing was wrong with me. It was only this one surgeon who was like, "I am seeing more and more of this." Um,
What?
and he even said that he had patients who had had implants because of cancer.
Mm.
And they'd had the reconstructive surgery, and they were iller with breast implants in than they were with the cancer.
Shit. That is so scary, by the way.
Yeah.
And so if your bloods are not telling you anything that there's like any sign of infection or the body is not fighting against anything, how how do they explain what is happening? Like, was there an explanation given? Was it the leaking of toxins from, did you have silicone ones or saline? Oh,
So
I don't
yes,
even.
but that doesn't even matter because the outer shell is silicon, whether
Oh.
the inside is silicon or saline. Um, what they won't tell you is that there's something wrong with the implant. They won't do it because
Mm,
big pharma,
no
they
way.
earn way too much money
Of
from
course, feeding off
people's
of people's
insecurities.
insecurities. Snap.
So they will not tell you that there's anything wrong with the implant. You know, they'll say it's not the implant. You know, you just don't know what's wrong. Your body's reacting in a certain way, and we can never predict that. So I was just told your body has started rejecting the implants. You have a thing called capsular contracture, which is when the capsule starts contracting because it wants to rid of the implants. So it's basically squeezing them so hard that it's trying to get rid of them. And that was what a lot of the pain was. In
Wow.
the end, the waiting list was so long for the NHS that I went privately and I just got them removed as soon as I could because I just wanted to get rid of them.
And how does it affect, how did it affect if you wanted to breastfeed? Like, could you still breastfeed with them or?
So yeah, I breastfed B for over a year with the implants in.
Mm,
So because they were over the muscle and not under the muscle, I think
mm,
I could still breastfeed. I'm so grateful that I was able to do that because I
mm,
think that would have been a real knock to me personally. I would have taken that really badly as
mm,
something that I had done to myself and then couldn't provide for B. But
mm.
luckily, I could breastfeed her with the implants in. So
Oh,
it's only, you know, they've now been out 5 months.
wow. And how did you feel when you had them out? Like, did you feel any immediate sensations of relief?
I woke up after the surgery in the after theatre bit, the recovery place. And I woke up on the bed and I took this huge deep breath and I burst out crying. And
Oh.
the porter was there and he was like, are you okay? Like called a nurse over, like, is she okay? And I said, I'm absolutely fine. I can breathe. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, that is the deepest breath I have taken in 13 years. And I hadn't realized that what I'd been doing to take a deep breath was to double breath. So I'd been going just to take a full
Mm.
breath.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I woke up and I could instantly breathe better. And it
Yes.
was just overwhelming. I was completely overwhelmed with emotion because I was just like, I've been restricting
Mm.
my breathing, you know, take away the pain, take away, the fact that I thought I needed this
Mm.
to look better or whatever, but my breathing, like I was
Wow.
affecting my breathing, and actually that was completely overwhelming to think I I can breathe again. I feel more alive than ever. And actually
Wow.
a lot of things like running is so much easier.
Really?
So much easier. Now I can breathe.
Gosh.
And I keep saying to people, I feel like a weight's been lifted. It obviously has. They're quite
But on
weighty.
so many
But on
levels,
so many levels, a weight has been lifted.
because your
And
body
I
just receiving this message like you can't take a breath, like you can't take that deep breath. And then over 13 years of not being able to do that, thinking that there is this danger by taking a breath that your lungs are asking for. I
yeah,
totally felt that then when you said that, like the feeling into just having that expansion in the chest, and then just thinking of how that ripples through your whole body. Like your heart
yeah,
also has less pressure on it. Your all of your organs do as you can breathe. That did it affect you then, um, like emotionally and mentally? How did it have an effect on? Did you have any messages from your inner world like that maybe have said, things are out of balance, or was it mainly just physical?
it was no, it was all emotions. It was physical, mental. It felt like everything inside of me knew that they needed to be removed and that I needed to start accepting who I was. And
Wow.
it was it started with the implants, but it won't stop there. I
Mm.
For years I've been getting filler and Botox in my face. I've completely stopped. I'm like, I don't need any of this. My body does not react well with this stuff, and I do not need it. And I have just my hair is curly. It's crazy, and I have not worn it naturally in years. I've always straightened it, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I look at B and I think, you are half me, and you are so perfect, and you
Mm.
are so wonderful, and you bring so much light into this world. And I see myself in her
Mm.
all the time, probably in the sassy, headstrong space. But I see myself in her and I think, oh my word, you're so perfect. And here I am I was trying to change everything about myself. Yeah, I look at her, I see myself, and I think you're perfect the way you are. And I never want you to think that you're anything but that. And so the implants were the first thing, but they certainly won't be the last.
So you're like meeting yourself like 13 years ago, really. Like you're meeting that part of you as well and being like, we can do
Like
this together.
holding that 21-year-old's hand and being like, you don't need any of this. You are fine. You look at everything that you've achieved. You are doing just great. You do not need any of this stuff to make you whole. You're whole as you are, and you're lovely the way you are. You're a good person, and that's enough. You
Mm.
don't need all of this toxic stuff that doesn't even make you look like you.
Mm.
You know, I've come to a real crossroads where in fact, not a crossroads. I feel like I'm unstoppable now with this movement inside of me. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not adhering to all of these standards that are they're not even real. That
Oh,
the people that have all this stuff don't even look like the people that look like this stuff. Look like the people in the magazines don't even look like the people in the magazines. And I just
yeah.
think
And
we've
they're being
just
controlled by people that they are receiving money, they're receiving things that feed their ego, or maybe they're trapped for whatever reason and they have to abide by these beauty standards that somebody else has created. And all
Yeah.
we see is like we look on social media, or look on magazines, we look somewhere else and we think, oh, they look happy. And then so there's like a following of that subconsciously, I think, a lot of the time. But it sounds like you've had this really big awakening to make you more
Yeah.
present with what is happening in the world, like on a
Yeah.
general, like huge level, and also what is happening within me, and being able to hold space for both of them realities is massive. And I'm curious of like how, because you must feel like you've come back online, like with yourself, I mean, like, do you feel like you are able to be more present now that your body is not using all its energy up with these implants?
Yeah, and also just, how I feel, like, physically, not just the way I look, I mean, like, my eyesight's better, I'm not
Yeah.
vomiting, I'm not nauseous, I'm not fatigued. All of those things have already completely gone. I'm able to move in the gym better before and really focus on what my body can do instead of what it looks like. And um,
Mm.
that's that's really strong for me. That's such a gift. And one of the biggest takeaways I have from it is when I hug people that I love, my heart is really close to them. There's nothing in between me and them
Mm.
anymore.
Oh,
There's no there's nothing between them. There's no barrier. There's no
wow.
toxic bags in between us. When our hearts are touching, they're touching.
It's so beautiful, by the way. Like, who would have ever thought that you could come
That's
to
how
this
I really feel.
place,
Yeah.
like, by from the point of habits? It makes me think, like, even though it really sucks, like what you went through and what you've had to go through to get to this point, like, it sounds so much like this experience has brought you back to like who you truly are.
Yeah.
And it's like we don't nobody wants these things to happen in their experience, but it sounds like it's been a huge awakening for you as well. And I know, like, by sharing your story, my daughter's coming in now. I know by sharing your story, it will help so many other women, and also maybe the partners of the women who have had them, like if something's off, if something's not quite right, to see, well, we haven't looked at this area, that maybe it's the implants having this
Yeah.
effect on their physical body, on their personality, on like how they're showing up and experiencing
Yeah.
the world.
And so many people have messaged me since I put that post on Instagram saying that they
Really.
feel this, they've had
Mm.
their implants for a number of years and they are now ready to either get rid of them or they're experiencing symptoms similar to mine.
Wow.
But they're too afraid to either admit that they think it's the implants or they're not quite ready to meet that version of themselves yet. Or, I
Oh,
think if you'd have asked me this 6 years ago, I probably wouldn't have thought that I'd be in this place either. I think you have to get to a place personally on a level where you're ready to accept who you are as you are. And
yeah,
I'm
because if you,
so glad that I've done it.
oh, I'm so happy for you too. Like, you're so vibrant. I can just see the life just like
I
radiating
feel
from
so much
you.
better.
Honestly, it's so
People I
beautiful to
haven't seen in
see.
years are just saying to me, "Gosh, you look so much better." And I'm like, "I feel better.
Oh
I
my
really do."
gosh. That's incredible, because it is that what you just said before was like, if you tell someone this and they're not ready, their whole identity is tied to
Yeah,
these implants, which
yeah,
means their ego is going to have to die, which is attached to that idea for the next phase to come along. So it can be really like, it can shake people's world to have this come into their awareness that, what, I have something inside of me that could be really harming me and affecting my way of life, but I'm so afraid to meet that new version of myself because it's so uncertain. It's
Yeah.
such into the unknown. How did you, I'll just get this last question in. How were you able to support yourself with this transition, with meeting the new version of you, or even like just meeting you, the truth of you?
I mean, I've been really lucky that my husband's been so supportive, and he was like, "You need to do this.
Mm,
You need to do this for you. We love you. We
mm,
are totally behind you." And I just have this great support system. And I just remember saying to my husband, "I'm ready. I know that this is the right thing to do." And I think because I feel so good, it's easy to accept.
yes. Yeah.
They don't look fantastic.
Mhm.
They look like I've breastfed a child for over a year. And I'm really proud of that. And I think truly accepting who you are is one of life's greatest freedoms, because otherwise you're
Mm.
trapped. You are completely trapped. And I didn't want to be trapped anymore.
Oh, I feel like you've just nailed that there. Like, as long as we are paying into something, so it not even doesn't have to be a thing, but an idea of who we should be, then we're trapped. Like,
Yeah,
we're
100%.
literally able to be controlled. And that could be any single thing that has our attention, that's making us feel better than being in our own body, or better than being ourselves. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, like, I can only imagine being on the other side of feeling actually good in your body and feeling happy to be alive, that then you can shift perspectives on, well, my breasts have been feeding this little human, like, what she's growing off of what I'm creating
Yeah,
inside of me. And just from
exactly.
that, it can just like shift
And
the whole perspective.
one thing I wanted to add actually and say is that I wish I had invested the time and probably the money that I did into surgery in the first place into my mind, into,
Mm,
you know, whatever it was at the time. Maybe it was therapy that I needed, or whatever it was. I wish I'd invested that money into myself without thinking that a foreign object was the answer. And the reason I say that is because as soon as you get one thing done,
mm,
because it's in the mind, you then pick on something else, and
mhm.
you think, okay, now I need bigger lips, or now I need this, or now I need that. And you don't stop. And you see it with so many people, don't you, who
Yes.
they just keep going and keep going, keep going until they look like a completely different person. I'm really, if I'd have just invested the money into my mind and into some meditation or whatever it needed to be, where I just went insular and
Mm,
really looked at myself and really thought about who I was, if I'd have invested in that in the first place, there wouldn't have been a spiral of the breasts, the lips, the cheeks, all of the stuff now that I've realized I do not need and
mm,
spent a silly amount of money on over the years,
mm,
um, to then come full circle and think, no, I don't need any of this, and I've wasted all my money. But um, I just wish I'd invested my time and energy more than anything in
mm.
accepting myself 13 years ago.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Is this image that comes in my mind all the time of running away from death, when it really comes down to it, staying in this youthful appearance, which is what is encouraged by our society. Like, always, you see the older woman or even the mother being kind of outcasted and exiled. And for sure, I think things are changing because women are stepping up to really show what it means to be in their body. But even if you just look through like kids programs, our age, of like older women, they're always the ones that like I don't know, like they're living in the forest with no family and they're like eating children or whatever the stories are, like some really
Yeah,
crazy stuff. And I feel like this is something now to challenge, of like, we live in a world that always wants to look like there's no death. Like, it's all, so our society is so afraid of death in general,
yeah.
like
But
whether it's
also, it's such a privilege to get old, isn't
right.
it? It is.
Totally.
Such a privilege getting older. And I just think, you know, we should be embracing it.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, and if anyone
And
says anything, like, what is that's their thing. That
yeah,
is there.
it's your issue,
Yeah, honestly.
and yeah, we shouldn't. And it's like you said in the beginning of the chat, from when you had your daughter, you felt like you didn't need to run anymore from, you could, but you decide to stay. And I think that's so true with me. Having Beatrice has made me want to stay and want to stay in the body that
Mm,
I have, want to stay around for as long as possible with her, want to be
yes.
happy for her, want to show her what her body can do, not about what it looks like,
Yes,
and
yes.
stop running from who I truly am, stop
Mm.
running from anything that I thought I had to be, and just be.
Amazing. I am just like so proud of you. Like literally hearing your story and hearing like all your wisdom come through. It's incredible. Like truly, you could write your own book about this. It's like these experiences that stand out so much, but it's the thing that's brought you back to you. Like it's
Yeah,
bringing you back to you, and it will continue to over and over again as you continue to change and evolve like through the years. But you now have this strength that's there, that's a knowing, like, yeah, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna transform, but I'm choosing to show up, like I'm choosing to be with all of that. And I think that's really beautiful.
thank you.
Mm, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. And this is what, so it's 5 months now, 6 months, 5 or 6 months?
5 months, yeah.
Wow. So I'm getting you when you're like raw. I am very, like, very excited to see how your journey unfolds because you said this is just the start of it. You can see where other
Yeah,
things you're shining light on other areas in your life. And I feel like so happy for you and your family. Like your family get you fully back, like the whole of you back, which is
yeah.
incredible. Your energy isn't going to push these things out of your body anymore or whatever it was doing before. It's
Yeah,
like, I
my
have all the
energy is now
energy.
focused in where it needs to be and not fighting, you know, a foreign object.
Yes, amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh,
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so nice to talk to you and get this out of me and off my
get
chest,
off your
literally.
chest. Get it off your chest. That could be like
Yeah,
a mantra. It could be like a,
yeah,
a new logo.
yeah.